favorite Austin oh, well, seeing a musical experience for me that really tops basically all of them in terms of being an audience, because I don't go to gigs. I really have a hard time sitting and watching. But Sarah got tickets for a Bob Dylan concert at that big center downtown,
the Loggins Center.
The Irwin Center.
Oh, the Irwin Center, yeah.
Okay. And Bob Dylan was the headline act, but the opening act was Paul Simon, and I'm like, all right, well, this sounds good. So we went and we had some decent seats, and the lights finally come down, and there's this roar out of 18,000 people because the place is packed, and nothing happened. And slowly the audience sort of calmed down and waited, but it was basically black. And all of a sudden, a downstage special, really finely focused, blasts down, and there's a microphone down center, and it's Paul Simon, and he's just standing, and the place goes berserk. And right before that light happened, there was like a chord coming through the PA. There's this beautiful polyphonic chord. And he started singing, and the first thing he did was basically a cappella. There was one chord, the chord never changed. And with this chord never changing, he sang Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Wow.
And I was stymied. There was nothing I could say. And that led to 2 hours of the best music I've ever seen. Steve Gadd on drums, the two Brazilian percussionists, the bass player and the guitar player from Graceland, the guys from the Cameroons, piano player, another piano player, the original Saturday Night Live horn section, which I got to meet because I actually had the honor of playing that show a couple times. A young man that sang the Garfunkel parts played acoustic guitar and cello, and it was perfect. It was absolutely 2 hours of perfection. And when it was done, second or third encore, Paul Simon invited Dylan out, and they were going to do a song everyone knows. So someone called Johnny Be Good of all songs. Everybody that's ever played anything ever in their lives has played Johnny Be Good. That thing. And so Dylan came out with a telly strapped on, played the song out of tune in the wrong key. And that's the way the Dylan part of the concert started. When it was done, before his encore, I pleaded with Sarah to leave before the audience did. So it was like the yin and yang of my time at the Irwin Center, which is the only time I was ever in that place. Paul Simon's show was breathtaking. The only other a great thing. When we first moved here, our friend John Inman invited us to come to some place called Green Hall. When he spelled it out, it was like Grün, and I'm like, that's green. He said, yes, it's green. It's a German settlement. It's green, believe me. So he told me how to get there, and we went. He told us how to get there, and we went. And we walked in that place, and all I saw, he was playing with a band at the time called the Wimberley Volunteer Fire Ants. They were great. Bluegrass, and they always had a guest. That was the volunteer part. And they did nothing but Grateful Dead. But they did it as a bluegrass band, and they had great vocals and great players. It was wonderful. We walked in that place. We'd been in Austin for 2 weeks. Now understand, Sarah grew up on cattle ranches and lived she's a cowgirl. She lived a very controlled life in that there was no drugs, there was country music, there was horses. She became she's an incredible equestrian. She did all that. She went to medical school, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden we moved to Austin. It's only a couple weeks in, and we walk into Green Hall, and the place is packed. And all I saw was tie-dyed T-shirts, and all I smelled was patchouli oil, sandalwood incense, and pot. And I looked at Sarah, and she's a little bit not too sure what she's just walked into, because it was a unique experience for her. And I walked in and I said, "Baby, we're home." And that was my first real experience in Austin.
No, that
So
sounds
that
interesting.
that's pretty good for that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Next.
So-
I'm having fun.
One of the other things that we always like to ask our guests is, Austin likes to keep Austin weird. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in Austin?
Oh, if I can't talk about that shit.
Oh, sure you can.
No, I can't. I mean, I've seen some pretty bizarre stuff in Austin. There was a guy that used to bike down Shoal Creek but he would bike all over Austin, but he would bike down Shoal Creek.
Thong Man.
Huh?
Thong
What was he
Man.
called? That Thong Man.
Thong Man.
Thong Man. And he was a skinny guy with real long hair and very tan.
Nice
And-
legs.
Huh?
Nice legs.
Oh, no. There was nothing nice about that shit. He would just ride up and down the streets basically naked. What was that other guy, Joel? He was like a street musician, street person that was really cool. He finally passed.
You're not talking about Leslie, are you?
Leslie. I like Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie was something else.
But there were a bunch of people like that. I mean, weird in Austin when we first moved here. There was clubs like the Red Eyed Fly, and there was some really great alternative rock and roll, some really hard rock and roll, which still exists. God, I mean, I never found Austin to be so terribly weird, but that might have to do with the fact that my life experience long before I moved to Austin included some pretty weird shit. So
Your yardstick for weird is different than most people's.
absolutely. It is. It's more
I
like
get that.
a half-mile stick.
Yeah, exactly.
So, finally, if somebody were moving to Austin, what piece of advice would you give them?
Say that again. I missed the last part of it.
Sure. I said, if somebody wanted to move to Austin, what piece of advice would you give them?
Besides, don't.
Right.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. Austin treated Sarah and I really well. My only issue with Austin was the fact that I didn't fit. And Sarah, I mean, my little studio was incredibly successful, and Sarah's had incredible success with her music to radio, and we've done great concerts, and it's all wonderful. The thing that we just didn't fit. We both grew up in a different kind of place, and we realized pretty early on that eventually we would have to get out, and so that was a motivating factor in our general day-to-day lives. We look for a place to live for a long time. I would tell people that Austin still, and this might have changed, but up to the time that we left, there was an influx of people from the Northeast, and there was certainly an influx of people from California, which I can't bust because I'm from California. Just the California that I'm from is a little different than most as well. I would say that the people here, I would hope that they would experience what we experienced, which was really friendly people. You can expect friendly people. You have to come to Austin. A musician that was coming to Austin to live in Austin and make their way as a musician, I would say probably don't look in Austin, because Joel and I both have dear friends, literally world-class people. I mean, people that have played with Rod Stewart and Van Morrison and, I'm Bob Dylan. They can't afford to live in Austin anymore. It's a very expensive place to live now. And so I would tell musicians, come to Austin, but, go look in some places in Williamson County, which is right next door. Look in Hayes County. There are places down there, or in Bastrop County. Places that are next door neighbors, but you might have to drive 20, 25 minutes to get into Austin proper. There are still great musicians, especially young players. There are some great young alternative rock and roll bands in Austin, Texas right now. And there are places to go and see them perform. Business people, I would hope that they would have a gig coming in, because it's expensive now. When we moved here, it seemed very inexpensive because we moved from Santa Barbara, which was incredibly expensive already. So when we moved, it was like, oh, this place is nice. Gas is only 98 cents a gallon. In Santa Barbara, it was already $3. It's like that. So my advice would be, if you really have a desire to move here, go for it. Just understand that, especially if you're not from Texas, you're moving to Texas. And that is a whole different creature.
Yes, it is.
Amen.